Hey everyone, Reverend Dr. Katie here. I hope you're doing well. Coming to you a little bit later than usual for this Facebook Live because oh my gosh, it's been such an energetic weekend. We had the kind of exploratory session for those of you who are interested in mediumship and how can mediumship possibly go with the Christian journey. And I had a special guest brought in for that. I'll put the comments and the links for anyone who wasn't able to catch it. I'll put the link in the comments for anyone who wasn't able to catch it. And then I had my very first kind of small Reiki circle. So that was really fun too. So there was lots of energy, lots of Christ energy. There's always Christ energy. We can't get away from that. But we were really just feeling that together as Jesus followers this weekend, a lot of us. So that was really, really fun. And I'm here today to talk to you about what it's like to not feel super grounded in your spiritual journey, in your spiritual walk. Hey everyone. Really great to see you all. I just don't say names on the lives because these end up going on YouTube. So I see your name. I'm calling it out in my heart. All right, everyone. So it's good to see you. So I want to talk about what it feels like to not feel super grounded, because this is something that I notice a lot, certainly something that I have experienced. And so this is kind of that feeling when you're like floaty, or you're sitting down to do some spiritual practices, but you have no idea what to do. And you kind of sit there and like you're confused for a few minutes. You try a few things. Maybe you try like opening a Bible for a few minutes, or you try praying, but it's not really connecting, or you think maybe I'll meditate, but no one's ever taught you how, you don't know how. And yeah, so you kind of have that feeling of what in the world do I do? Kind of like the first time you go to Disneyland, if you've ever been to Disneyland and you think, I don't even know where to go first. What's the first thing that I do? Is I can feel really, really overwhelming. This is a really, really common problem. And so that feeling ungrounded means that we spin in circles all the time. It's like I have all these options, but I don't. It's like you're at a menu, you're at a restaurant, but no one's giving you the menu. You know all these options, but you actually don't have any idea exactly what to do. So that feeling of ungroundedness is really, really frustrating. And one thing I know a lot of you have experienced, because I've experienced too, you go to the metaphysical world, like people who don't necessarily understand or know Jesus the same way that we do as Jesus followers. And they give you tools, but they're not really resonating. And then maybe for some of you in your Christian traditions, I know a lot of you grew up without tools. It was like the only instruction was like, well, just pray and figure it out. But no one ever taught you how to pray. And that's a really common problem. Or the major experience was in corporate worship. And if you don't have that corporate worship anymore, then you're not feeling all that grounded. And a lot of times, QT is a term I hear a lot for many people, like quiet time. But often people don't teach us what to do during those times. And for some people, if you're fidgety, like I am, sometimes just sitting in the silence and kind of talking to God doesn't have the connection that you want it to have. There's nothing wrong with that. If that works for you, that's more power to you. That's great. But there's also these other tools that we can use to bring into that relationship, into that time, into our spiritual practices that help connect us. And so for a lot of you, and this was certainly true for me, when I have that ungrounded feeling, I can feel really numb almost. And let me describe what numbness is. So you know that feeling of numb, it's like every emotion you've ever had cascades upon you and you can't pick them apart. So we often think of numb as being the absence of feeling, but numbness is actually when we're feeling every emotion ever at once, and we don't know how to decipher among them. We can't pick them apart. That's what numbness is. So sometimes when we sit down and we have that ungrounded feeling, well, sometimes if you have the ungrounded feeling, you never even make it sitting down to try a spiritual practice because you have no idea what to even start with. But sometimes when we're like, okay, I'm going to try, and we sit down and we reach, it's like you're reaching for a practice, but you don't know what it is. Right? Or you're falling back on one that doesn't resonate with you, or even worse, you're falling back on one that triggers you because you've had some bad experience with it, or with someone that introduced it to you in the past, and that's not fun either, right? So this numbness feeling, though, it's like all these feelings are cascading on you, and you're kind of frozen, and you just don't know what to do. And so kind of emotionally, this isn't a great place to be in because we don't know what to do. And it's like we're feeling everything. And so often the response is to, we have a reaction to that. Like it might be to sleep, or it might be to go get chocolate, or it might be to kind of numb yourself out. in another way with TV or with alcohol or with caffeine, whatever it is, whatever your chosen thing is. So we've all been there. Okay, so what does it feel like to be grounded? So when we are grounded, it means that we have some choices of spiritual practices, and that can range from a ton of different things. It can range from meditations to practices. You might have tools that you want to bring in, and you're not doing them just for the sake of doing them. You're doing them because they help connect you. They helped ground you to all the creation of God, like literally to the ground, but also to the heavens. Like they help ground you upwards as well. They help you ground down and reach up at the same time. If we spend all our time kind of floating up here with some of the higher dimensions and some of the practices, and we don't ever feel grounded, it leaves us kind of almost floating away. So we really need that balance of both, and to be able to have the tools of all of the spirituality that is available to us. And so that includes some tried and true Christian practices, prayer practices, body practices. There's a ton out there. Most of us just don't have access to all of them. And it includes these metaphysical practices too, that are created by God for us to be able to use, created for us to be able to access. When we do have that groundedness, it can be so powerful because it gives us kind of legs to stand on in our spiritual life. It gives us a starting point. And having a physical practice is a really great starting place, whether that's in, a meditative practice that we do. We say we do it in our heads, but we really do it throughout our whole body and our souls. Or whether it's something that you're doing with your hands, whether it's something you're doing with your arms, whether it's, a body practice. Can be so many different things. So when you have that, you have a really grounded place to begin from, and then you can expand outward. So I really recommend kind of starting with one or two. This is something I love teaching people. I love helping people get grounded, get oriented in this way. And in fact, I find so many people are floating around with so many different emotions about their own spiritual life that's hard to name, that just getting grounded with a few practices is really helpful. And then you can build out all of your spirituality from there. All right. So that's a really, really quick lesson on this. Hey, everyone. Hey, people who just joined us. It's hey, I see some people I hadn't seen for a while. Hey, it's really good to see you. I just don't say names on here. So you're all in my heart, like I said before. And yeah, so I am here to help if this all makes sense and you're feeling kind of floaty, or feeling kind of numb, or you're feeling like you have no idea where to start. Let me know. That's what I'm here for. Just send me a private message. You can send me an email, and we'll go from there and figure out what's your next step. Okay, everyone, I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.